College football nerds here talking Illinois and Indiana, maybe the game of the week, at least in terms of ranked opponents. This is what it's looking like. Josh here, we're getting nerdy with y'all, and I want to start this by, there's kind of a segue here. We had a very long review recap of week one, and in that is a kind of rant about the AP poll. And it's interesting in this one because Indiana's ranked number 19 and Illinois is ranked number 9. And guess who's favored, Josh? I'm going to let you run with it.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's favored in this game by 4.5, which is, about as much as Oklahoma's favored over Auburn. The other interesting spread to me is Michigan's only a 1.5 point favorite over Nebraska, which seems to kind of be under the radar nationally. But it is interesting, right, that Illinois is right now a top 10 team and is an underdog to Indiana. And I think it says a lot about what Indiana's done and how they built their program, lose their quarterback, rebuild it. You have an Illinois team that gets a couple of their biggest players to come back, including Altmaier, for another year. Indiana rebuilds more through the portal, quarterback, running back, a lot of positions. Also contrasting styles, Daniel. I mean, Illinois is still very much kind of a ball control offense with Brett Bielema. They are a more pro-style offense. They are more traditional, physical, both sides of the ball. We've talked a lot on this channel about how college football has kind of shifted in a cyclical fashion to where defenses now are more using smaller hybrid players. They're doing more zone coverages. You're seeing like 3-3-5s or hybrids 3-3-5s out of like a 4-2-5 with zone blitz schemes more often. Kirby Smart at Georgia, the great defensive mastermind, runs zone significantly more than he runs man now. And they do all that to stop the RPO. You can't key run pass from the safety position. If you're in man coverage, it's really easy for eyes to come downfield to try to help in run support and get blown past. So you kind of want everybody floating in coverage. And importantly, it lets people intercept the passer, confuse coverage with robbers and whatnot. The antidote to that has been pro-style football. If you can run the football downhill, if you can take a lead blocker, when you're playing a 3-3-5, when you're playing a zone coverage where everybody's dropping back, you can run on them. And the other thing is at the quarterback position, when you're facing zone coverage, your ability to anticipate holes in the coverage, your ability to flood a zone, read high-low, make traditional pro-style throws is the way you beat zone. And so I think there's been this big shift, and you can listen to our recap video, which is super long, but I talk about this a little bit too at length there. There's been a shift back to pro-style offenses. Things have gone back to the idea that you need quarterbacks that are processors and thinkers more than anything else. That's what Illinois is. That's what Altmaier is. The flip side, Daniel, is Indiana's made a huge investment in their team with Cignetti, with what they're doing. They are more RPO-based. They're far more modern. They are more vertical, more explosive offensively. They were a great offense last year. Look, we ragged on the schedule at times, but when we did our playoff selection, we didn't really have an issue with Indiana being included. I mean, they earned their spot. I had questions about whether they'd hold up at the line of scrimmage that I think proved true, but they earned their spot in the playoff. And they did it because they're a sound program, and they're very efficient offensively, which is why they destroyed bad competition or mediocre competition in a way that teams like Alabama and even like Ohio State didn't in the regular season. And so you've got these contrasting styles, and I think it's interesting that Indiana's a favorite over Illinois. But I'll turn it back to you, Daniel, to give a theory, and that's the fact that Indiana is a great defense, maybe an underrated defense. They've been physical, but they've got great pass rushers. They are more modern. They are more aggressive. Mendoza, I think, was an underrated player. I mean, he was the number 4 ranked quarterback transfer, depending on how you looked at it. But underrated player at Cal last year. They were the reason Cal beat Auburn, the only reason, really, that Cal beat Auburn. I think Indiana may be a little bit better than the sum of their parts. I think that aggression may be a key to them. And I think the defense and their ability to rush the passer may be sort of the antidote to where Illinois is. And I think all of that is sort of the reason why, despite what I said positive about Illinois' scheme, Indiana, the lower-ranked team, is actually the favorite over Illinois in this game.
Vegas does their homework. Vegas knows teams inside and out. And yes, they're trying to balance money and all that, but they're not going to do something crazy. And so they're seeing something here that the AP poll and AP voters, which we have confirmed, don't do their homework and are very lazy. Like some of them don't even know that Florida lost to South Florida. I think that a lot of people are saying these two teams haven't really played anybody yet, but the only team between these two who has played a team is Illinois, or played a team with a pulse is Illinois. They played Duke at Duke. beat them 45-19. Therefore, let's put them high. And they came in high based on beating South Carolina bowl game last year, so they kind of start high. And the feeling is, Indiana lost some players, including quarterback. Let's drop them down a little bit. And then, they beat the crap out of Duke. So, we've got them. There's this 10-spot spread between the two teams. But when you dive into that game against Duke, yes, it's 45-19, but the game on yards, the game on production was very close. It's just that one team had 5 turnovers, including 4 fumbles, which is really just mathematically that you would lose 4 fumbles is incredibly, exceedingly low. Like infinitesimally small that would happen because getting a fumble back is random. That 45-19 starts to look a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, Duke actually outgained Illinois in that game, 438 to 419. Illinois was only 5 of 13 on third down, 25 first downs to Duke's 21. As you noted, Duke just turned the ball over 5 times. And when you go through the play chart, Duke scores first with a field goal to go up 3-0. They trade series, punt, and then it's 3-0. Force Illinois to punt the ball, and then lo and behold, Duke fumbles the football on their own, I think, 18-yard line. Illinois turns around, punches it in from the 18, goes up 7-3. Duke turns around, drives the field 52 yards, kicks a field goal. Illinois, to their credit, drives 75 yards, goes up 14-6. So at this point, realize Illinois has had one long drive for a touchdown, and they're up 8 points. Duke gets the ball back, fumbles again. Illinois is forced to punt. Duke scores, now 14-13. Again, at the half, very close game. Illinois, to their credit again, drove down, scored 21-13, doing what they need to do. But this is still a one-score game, and this is where the wheels completely fall off. Duke fumbles. Illinois scores on the short field, 28-13. Duke scores again with a touchdown to keep it 28-19, but now realize we're down 9 points. We're slowly losing ground. Illinois kicks a field goal, 31-19. Duke throws an interception, which Illinois turns around and scores again. We're 38-19. Duke fumbles fumbles one play after the kickoff. We're in the fourth quarter now with not a lot of time left. Illinois picks it up, scores in one play for 23 yards, 45-19 with 4 minutes left. Duke turns it over on downs, end of the ball game. So, Illinois was the better team, let me be clear, but they weren't that much of a better team. Like, it's statistically on paper, et cetera, they weren't that much of a better team in that game. Duke just did everything wrong at the wrong moment. Now, some of that, like forcing a fumble deep on their field is something Illinois did, but it all kind of collaborated to a game from a predictive sense that maybe doesn't show Illinois being that much more dominant than Duke. And I'll turn it around a quick sort of to wrap it up and just note the Old Dominion game. Indiana wins the game 27-14 in the opener. You kind of think, well, maybe Indiana's a little sluggish. Man, Old Dominion looks like a pretty darn good team. They thumped Virginia Tech. And I think what Vegas is also saying is that's not just a fluke. Old Dominion may be pretty darn good. And 27-14, I think, was probably considered impressive in that they held Old Dominion to 4.4 yards per pass attempt, 11 completions in the ball game. Indiana didn't throw that particularly well, but didn't run it great either. I think Old Dominion's maybe just a really good defense. So I think a little bit in this too is that Illinois is the only one that's played a real game, and they had a blowout, but that blowout statistically maybe wasn't quite what you thought. Where Indiana struggled with a bad team at Old Dominion, where it wasn't really that much of a struggle, and also that's an Old Dominion team that might actually well be better than Duke. And you put it all together, and you can start to see. Again, with two teams, and obviously we're not giving a lot of substance because we haven't seen them play a named team yet, but behind the scenes, when you work through it, there's little things that, again, it's not just us making it up, that I think Vegas is seeing too, which is why Indiana's favored. I'll tell you, Daniel, I don't have any real confidence on who's going to win this game because I haven't seen them play real opponents on either side, but I can understand why the spread is the way it is, or at least I can explain to you probably the logic behind it. And yeah, that leads into my prediction or our predictions. I'll let you go first because I don't have any real confidence in who's going to win this game with how little we've seen of them.
To your point, you're saying Illinois was better than Duke. That game was 14-13, and Illinois had a 72% win probability. So I do think that while the score is misleading, Illinois is a better team. Altmaier threw the ball really well. 9.5 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, but they couldn't run it. 2.9 yards per attempt against not a bad defense, but 2.9 yards per is pretty low production. Mensa also threw the ball pretty well. 334, 9.8, 2 touchdowns. So the Illinois defense that I think that we're used to that's like really locked down may not be quite as good this year. But again, this is one game. We haven't seen them play anybody. I think on one hand, to your point, ODU is better than the name brand indicates. But after watching what they did at Virginia Tech, by the way, I made a joke about Virginia Tech going undefeated with Indiana's scheduled to date, and they played ODU. Nobody got the joke, but anyway, that was on Twitter. But the flip side of that, Josh, is they didn't kill ODU. That was kind of an ugly game. First game of the year with a new quarterback. It's hard to know. This game's at home. I think Vegas knows what they're doing. I wouldn't be surprised who wins this game, but I'm going to go IU, let's say 20. I'm going to go 28. Illinois, 24.
I agree with you. I mean, I think Vegas knows what they're doing here. I also think Indiana's improved through the transfer portal at all levels. I mean, they've got All-Americans at all levels of the defense. And the thing I'll flag, Daniel, I like Altmaier. I think he's a very capable quarterback in the right system. Obviously, he's been very effective. But he has struggled at times against better defenses. I mean, last year he ended up 7.8 yards per, which is pretty good. But he was like 4.4 yards per against Michigan, 4.6 yards per against Oregon, 6.8 against Minnesota. When they've played better defenses and they had an up and down schedule, he has not looked good in a number of games. I think that they're going to have some real issues with Indiana's defense. I think Altmaier has some limitations as a passer and processor when pressured. He's just like he's a bit of a gamer, but I think he's sometimes a little bit limited. And he can kind of get rattled and get off his game. And that scheme they run at Illinois works when it works, but when it doesn't, I don't know that it has enough wrinkles or enough oomph. I mean, even the South Carolina win, right? It was 21-17. They only completed 13 passes in that ballgame for 174 yards. I think Indiana's going to get after them. I'm going to take Indiana 27-17. I just think Illinois is going to have more problems that were maybe anticipated. I think Indiana is probably an improved team in a lot of areas from where they were last year. Maybe not as fluid offensively, which we've seen, but in some ways more talented. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see Mendoza on this stage with this team, but I think Indiana gets it done.
All right, as we wind this down, Illinois got USC after Indiana, and then really a lot of bad, but also have Ohio State left on the schedule. In terms of playoff implications, and we've talked about the kind of teams that don't have a lot of opportunities, like Notre Dame. If they go 10-2 this year, they might be out because they don't have another ranked team on their schedule, maybe. With Indiana, they've got opportunities with Oregon and Penn State in addition to this game. They've got Iowa, who's decent, but probably won't be ranked. Is this a must-win game for Illinois if they want to get into the playoffs, assuming they can't beat Ohio State down the road?
I mean, assuming they don't beat Ohio State, if they go 10-2, if they lose to Indiana and lose to Ohio State, but they beat USC, they're going to be on the bubble. I don't know that it's a must-win, Daniel, because 11-1 is a lock, right? But it's close. I mean, I think 10-2 is going to be a really risky proposition, and you really got to hope USC or Washington ends up being maybe better than expected, or USC ends up being good, because you need another marquee win. I think if those teams are, if they get a couple good wins out of that, if Wisconsin's good, if Washington's good, if USC's a ranked win, at least one ranked win, they'll be in good shape. So I don't think it's a must win, but in basketball parlance, they'll be clearly on the bubble at 10-2 if they drop this game in Ohio State, because the strength of the rest of the schedule is not that good. But to turn it around, as you said, I don't feel the same about Indiana. I mean, Illinois, Oregon, and Penn State, if they beat one of Oregon and Penn State and they go 10-2, they're in. They're in, right?
Yep.
Like, that's going to be a marquee win. Illinois just doesn't have quite the same opportunity.
All right, y'all. Let us know what you think the score is going to be in the comments. And if you're new to us, because we don't do a lot of Illinois or Indiana content, please subscribe, but also do us one better if you liked this preview and share it where you talk football. It'll help us out a ton. Thanks so much, y'all. Have a great week, and God bless.